My name's Daniel Mushrush. I was born and raised here in the Flint Hills in Chase County, Kansas. Our ranch is called Mushrush Ranches, where we raise predominantly red Angus genetics, whether that's bred heifers, commercial or registered bulls. That keeps us pretty busy. We don't have row crops. We're 100% invested in the cattle business on the genetic side mainly. But through that, we have a certain type of animal that we want to make. It's a very efficient forage converting type female that can get out and really work for somebody. And so that's where grazing systems like what we're in now, coming on rye, is good for us because we can roll right out of warm season native pastures, and we can come right down here in the bottoms, and we can extend our grazing days. So we're going through the large part of the winter without having to feed any cattle. To me, as I gave this little thought, I think to me the number one word I guess I can come up with is resiliency. Is we're getting a healthier soil here, and I think it's a work in progress. I don't think we're anywhere near where we will be at the end or where we need to be. But this field where we're standing in, for example, we drilled this in I think 2-3 weeks ago. It hasn't had a rain yet. If we'd have worked this field, we'd still be waiting on our winter grazing to come on. We'd be behind the 8-ball. But because we're no-tilling, because we had that moisture already in the profile, here we are. And that, whether we're looking at organic matter, which would hold on to that water and help us out, or nutrients that are already there, it boils down to a resilient soil. And that'll let you do more things with it in more extreme conditions, like a little mini 3-week drought like we're in right now. But ultimately, those things have to add to your bottom line. And I look at where we're at now as these are dollars. We're ahead of where we would have been if we would have been doing this conventionally. I think we're going on maybe about 10 years now. It wasn't not long after I came back. It was kind of out of a necessity on a variety of reasons. We were killing ourselves with winter feed costs, and at the same time, we had a bunch of old farm equipment that was wearing out, and we were banging our heads. We weren't getting anywhere doing anything. And so instead of trying to keep fighting it, we kind of tried to bring several different of our systems and roll them into one. And so I think it's been about a decade now that we've been grazing these bottoms like this. I think that's something that we need to really tell people, that it isn't just it's a new system of farming, and it takes a lot of learning. It isn't just like you start throwing out seeds and it's a silver bullet and everything is fixed. There's a lot of issues that go with things you gotta learn to manage. Compaction is one. I think you can manage it with how you do some of it, but we run a lot of cattle on these acres. We're really we're pretty dense in the winter times. So we did have some at first, and I think as our profile in this clay soil was kind of reestablishing, we had some compaction. We're probably better today than we've ever been. So it was able to work through it, whether that was just the activity of the biome in the soil, or just the radishes breaking it up, or whatever it is. It's probably a combination of all. But there was a period there that we had some yield drag on some summer things because of compaction. One of the biggest struggles that we're having is weeds that probably could be killed with tillage, but some of the chemicals just aren't burning them down like they used to. And that's a pretty big one here that we're still kind of working around. My radical approach to those is actually going to perennials. And we can look at it later. We're taking some of these really productive autumn ground acres and going to cool season perennial forage. And it's really been a really good thing for me, the paradigm shift. And in the Flint Hills, I'm used to thinking of an acre of ground grows 2,500 acres of grass, for example, because that's what I'm used to on the side of a hill. Some of this good bottom ground that can grow a lot of corn and beans, it can grow a world of grass. And especially if you incorporate some soil health into it and animal grazing and things, you know, we have some acres that I don't think it'll be out of the question to say we'll be at 8,000 pounds of dry matter production here just really quick. I think that's one of the best things about doing cover crops is that different plants have different reasons, or there's different goals for different mixes. And to me, we don't have the iron and the machinery to do some things, but we have a ready-made harvesting tool in a cow herd. So grazing for us is first and foremost. I think the grazing helps the soil, and then most importantly, it helps me get through the winter with lower feed costs. So that being said, we are heavy on the rye right away. I'll usually like, and we don't in this field, but if I can go into standing, say, sorghum Sudan, for example, without ever burning it down, we'll have a little fiber already in that field to slow them down on that. Turnips and radishes are always important for us, just for the compaction issues we talked about. But really, it's you know, if a guy's going to go back with corn, maybe he wants to be more legume based. But that's the beauty of these cover crops, is that it can really be fine tuned to what your goals are for that piece of ground. And so, like I said, that being said, we're heavy on rye because we're just going to get a ton of grazing days off of this when we're all said and done. I've been on, I think, 7 years now. I replaced the infamous Pat Sobel, if people know who he was in Chase County. He came home from World War II, and I think he got on the conservation board in 1946. And he served there until just right there at the end. And he asked me to get on to replace him. And Pat Sobel was somebody that nobody said no to. And so that's how I got on the board, was I was told I was getting on the board. Since then, though, I've been really happy that I have. I've learned a lot more about some of the programs. I know it's changed what we've done here. It's let us try some new things, do this here, go to perennials, and so there's a lot of good that can be done. You know, being on the board has given me those options that you know, passion's one thing, but if you don't have the tools to focus and the knowledge of where to put that passion, is really wasted, in my opinion. And so being on the board is, you know, if somebody comes to me and they want to know, you know, hey, I've seen this, I want to try this. Well, that's fine and dandy, but now I know these are the tools in this toolbox that you have access to, and here's what you need to go to push this forward. And so it's really been a good way to get that focus in for me. Yeah, as an agency, NRCS has been really good to us as a board member, and then as a producer both. And I think even in the last couple years, what I've really appreciated is there's a willingness in NRCS to think out of the box. I'll call it nimbleness that you don't always maybe see in a government bureaucracy type system, but there seems to be more and more willingness to try some new things to really get our mission of soil conservation accomplished, or conservation in general, and that's something I really appreciate. And as a board member, it gives us flexibility, but more importantly, as a producer, it lets, you know, Western Kansas isn't like Eastern Kansas, which isn't like the Flint Hills, and having some adaptability to a local area is really important, and it's something I'm seeing a little bit that I'm really excited about. This is the last thought I'd share. It's not my thought. I kind of stole this. I heard it at another conference, and I really liked it. But I heard somebody speak a while back, and they said that, you know, we preserve the coral reefs for the sake of preserving coral reefs. We preserve mountains for the sake of preserving mountains and no other. Why don't we do the same with our soil? And I think there's some economic gains to be made for the producer. I think, you know, as the environment goes and things, there's some really important reasons. But if we take those aside, even, if we as a society think this is worth preserving, let's preserve it. And I think that's a powerful thought, I guess, as we kind of move forward in the 21st century. and ask ourselves, is this worth keeping? And if it is, then conservation districts have a place.